Welcome to Cat's Crypto Peepcast. Revealing reviews, titillating tech talk, never, ever financial advice. Welcome everyone to the Cat's Crypto Peepshow Ded Monkes / Phase Protocol AMA. I am Katherine Jenkins, and I am here with Batman, my right-hand man, and I'm also here with Devour, who is, he will tell me his official title, but he is absolutely the head honcho at both Ded Monkes and Phase Protocol. So we're going to find out more about both of those things today. So thank you so much for joining us, Devour.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get started, I will say, firstly, I've been a part of Ded Monkey DAO since May, and I was introduced to the Ded Monkes by Batman. Batman, how long have you been in Ded Monkey DAO?
Oh man, I've been with them since Devour and Professor Mint derugged the last one. So I was in the previous project as well. So I've been with them for a long time, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's a great community. So I've also come on as an alpha caller for them. So I post calls there, and I also help out with searching for whitelists for giveaways. So I love Ded Monkes. I love Devour. I love the whole team. So I'm really honored that you guys have decided to do an AMA with me, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'd also like to say before we get started that this AMA is made possible by Cat's Crypto Peepshow VIP Room Experience, which we launched on August 11th. This is the private area of my Discord where we put community and values first. Anyone who auditions and is accepted for VIP by September 8th receives a 14-day trial and the OG VIP Peep Roll, which will give you, which you will have forever, even if you cancel and come back later. This gives you special perks and benefits for everything that the Peep Show comes out with in the future, be it NFTs or tokens, etc. And you can find a link to the audition as well as all the information on VIP in our server in the VIP room info channel. And a big shout out to Setsuna, who just received the first ever Peep Show welfare, which gave him 1 month free access plus $25 in crypto. So we'll be opening up welfare again at the end of September. So with no further ado, let's get into the main event, which is Ded Monkes and Phase Protocol. So I will start by asking you first, Devour. Firstly, what is your role within Ded Monkes and Phase Protocol? But also, let's start and tell everyone what Ded Monkes is. What exactly is Ded Monkes?
A derug that myself and, as you said, Professor Mint underwent back in the day. But the project originally was called Mutated Monkes, and so that took place, minted out in October. It was one of those quote-unquote stealth mints, promise of an ohm fork, the whole 9 yards, and ended up rugging. And myself and Mint and the rest of the team managed to derug it successfully, airdropped all holders new NFTs, and started our new community, our new journey from there. I'm very happy with how far we've come. So that's kind of a very high level overview of what Ded Monkes is and kind of how we came to be.
Gotcha. So that's Ded Monkes. It used to be Mutated Monkes, and you guys derugged it. And so what made you want to derug Ded Monkes? Like, were you in the community and like you saw it unfold and you just wanted to do something about it, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so I was at the time, there was a lot of stealth mints going around, and these stealth mints, I think the reason they went around is because of Boryoku Dragons. They were kind of like the quote-unquote first stealth mint on Solana, and those blew up, and people decided to follow that metric because all the other very large supply NFTs are starting to see kind of a decline. So people, when they made new projects, they'd make them with low supplies to kind of match that new demand. And this was one of, I'd say, probably like 7 projects I quote unquote stealth minted and got into. And it was actually one of the ones that I spent most of my time in because the community was actually awesome. On low supply projects, especially stealth mints, you'd have a lot of dead communities that people were just there just for the money. They'd flip and get out, and then the community would die. But this is the only one where I saw an actually active and pretty awesome community. So when they rugged, it was more of a feeling of like they didn't deserve this because everyone here was pretty awesome. So that's why I decided to derug it. Originally, I had a base level understanding. It divulges into more than you can imagine, derugging, but I had a base level understanding of what it took. So I wasn't originally going to do it unless I had help. And when my one of the other mods in there approached me about it, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to have some help, I'll do it. And then we ended up having like a team of 5 people right off the bat, and it made it a whole lot easier than it otherwise would have been.
Cool. So was this your first undertaking in derugging a project? Had you done it before, or did you had seen it happen before, so you knew what to do?
I had thought of starting my own NFT project, so I knew how hard it would be to start one, which also isn't easy. But derugging it is basically starting one with no funds, and then from a dev perspective, it is even more complex because you have to airdrop the NFTs. So I knew it would be complex and with little funding, but I've always been a crazy person who likes to do the right thing. So that's how I knew.
Gotcha. Okay. And you're a developer yourself? Like obviously your name is Devour, but like you're like a rest dev or what do you do?
No, I'm not a dev. I mean, I can do like very slight things. Like I can help program some Discord bots. I wouldn't really consider that developing. But given that I can do that, I have like a pretty good translation because I think a lot of the times NFT projects, they have like this miscommunication between dev teams and marketing teams or the rest of the team. So given that I can understand what they're saying, because they can sometimes speak a whole different language, and translate it into English is always helpful. But no, I'm not. I wouldn't consider myself a dev. Professor Mint was the man on the team that became our lead dev.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I was about to say that it must be Professor Mint. Do we have like any other developers on our team right now for either like Ded Monkes or FaZe?
Yeah, so FaZe is comprised of a bunch of members, so business developers, but our coding developers. It's a 4-man dev team currently.
Cool. So I guess we could also say, what is FaZe protocol? Now, this is newer than Ded Monkes. You guys just revealed FaZe very recently. So why don't you just tell everyone exactly what FaZe is?
Yeah, so FaZe protocol was an undertaking that started with the Ded Monkes team. It was myself, Professor Mint, the team of devs that we have over there. So 4 of them. They were, again, myself, Professor Mint, Adam, Extra Hash, and Board King. We all kind of started this along with Slorg, and it ended up divulging into a much bigger project with a lot of other projects involved. So it became like this giant, I'd say, derug / ecosystem-wide collaboration to make this ecosystem safer again. So what it basically was, let me go back a little bit. The way it started is one of the things we always wanted to build, and MKs in the audience can confirm this, is a social platform. Because when we got rugged, one of the main reasons why we were able to derug is because they never deleted the Discord and Twitter. So the community still stayed intact. But lots of rugs aren't as fortunate, and the communities just get deleted with the click of a button. So what we wanted to build, we did end up building an MVP for it, is a decentralized social media platform. But as time went on, we continued to develop it. We recognized that there was a huge problem at play here, which is a liquidity loss problem. Like, rug pulls are so prominent. I also am a part-time blockchain investigator, and the second we would solve a case, I'd say another 3 or 4 popped up in its place, and that's just not sustainable from an ecosystem perspective. So if we came out with a social platform, we feared that it would not gain adoption, as people would be so jaded from the space and getting rugged every mint that they jump into. So we decided to pivot just for a little bit and build out this product, and then we can always go back to it or even build out something new and better. So that's what Phase Protocol is. It's to solve that problem that I was just mentioning, which is liquidity loss and losing of retail customers. I think that's a huge problem that we have. And what it basically is new mints will be able to create a roadmap. And instead of 100% of mint funds going to the projects right off of the bat, now it gets vested over these roadmap phases. That's where the name Phase Protocol comes from.
Awesome. And yeah, so that was the idea that I got from Phase Protocol, is it was meant to keep liquidity in the ecosystem instead of in the pockets of people who ultimately either scam or just don't deliver on their promises for their product and end up like slow rugging basically. So that's kind of like the way that I look at Phase Protocol. And you also led us into the next thing that I wanted to ask you, just to kind of give an overall idea of this whole like your whole deal you got going on. You mentioned the decentralized social media platform, and you're referring to Ded Social, I would imagine. So would you like to tell everyone a little bit more about what Ded Social is or how it would work? You said you mentioned like the social channels being deleted sometimes when these projects rug. So would Ded Social remedy that somehow?
Yeah, so the thought process behind social is it would completely remedy that. It would remove the ability for founders to delete these communities with the click of a button and allow for even if they wanted to derug, a derugging process to commence. So that was the main problem. And that's the reason, again, why I was able to derug Mutated Monkes, is because they didn't get deleted. And I felt fortunate for that. And so I wanted other communities to be able to partake in something like that. But then I think Phase Protocol goes a step deeper in solving that issue of communities not getting rugged in the first place. So there's a bifurcated, I'd say, result here where you get, if it does rug, then there's this option. But hopefully Phase Protocol will stop that from even happening in the first place. So that's kind of what Ded Social is, just more decentralized, because I think the way the crypto is meant to be is decentralized. And NFTs and the way we go about them in this ecosystem is kind of the antithesis of that. Everything's centralized. Project founders get the option and ability to delete your NFTs if they want to in a moment's notice. They can delete you from a community, ban you forever. All of this is kind of, in my opinion, not sustainable. And I'm not sure that retail will ever take us seriously if we continue down that path.
That's fantastic. I think you take things a step further. Like, we like to throw around the term decentralization and say that we want it, and we identify the things that are centralized and complain about them, but we don't offer, most people don't offer solutions to make things more decentralized. And you absolutely are with Phase Protocol. So I think that that's really cool. So it sounds like with Ded Social, that kind of evolved into this idea for Phase Protocol. Do you still feel like Ded Social is something that you guys are going to continue to work on, or is that kind of put on the back burner for now, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd say Phase Protocol, short term, is in front of mind. I'd say Ded Social is still long term, the goal, but social media platforms in Web3 are becoming oversaturated very quickly. And so I think something that our team's really good at is judging market sentiment and building from there. So whatever we do, I hope Phase Protocol, one thing it will do is ensure that we have the funding to be able to build out that next thing, whether that's Ded Social or whether that's something else. But that being said, we do have an MVP for Ded Social already live, and there might be other players out there that are hoping to build something like this. So there might be collaboration opportunities there. And then we can even go and build something else. It's not like a single product or even two products is the end goal here. We can continue building with this giant team we have.
Very cool. And Bhattman and I noticed that during the Hacker House presentation in Krakow, there was a slide that said Phase Protocol was powered by Ded Social. So what was your thought process behind saying that?
Yeah, because I think that's still the current long-time goal is to make it powered by the team that builds out Ded Social. So that's kind of the idea here, because if we do end up building out Ded Social, then something that'll be cool is adding Phase Protocol into these communities. So if you could hop into a community, let's say one that's secured by Phase Protocol. You can go in there, check their announcements. You can chat with community members. You can also view their roadmap via Phase and where they're currently at with it. So I think all of that transparency would be really cool in a one-stop shop. But again, that's the long-term goal there. So we wanted to kind of start throwing that name around. But again, something that is really important about this space is adapting. So I don't want to lock us into a single thing. We could even do that and then something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. All right, so I wanted to ask some things about you specifically, Devour. Do you have a job? Do you have like a full-time job outside of all of this?
I do. I work in real estate currently. So, looking at properties a lot of the day. But one thing that I've come to realize is that I'm a guy who hates sleep and free time, because real estate doesn't have it's not a 9 to 5 opportunity. I would say it is more of odd hours. So I decided to hop into Web3 with my free time. So that's kind of the balance I have. Is right now it is Web3, then my job, and then everything else in my life. So about 0 hours of free time in the day.
Holy shit. Like, I relate to that so much. I've never really heard it put that way. Like, you hate sleep and free time. I make sure that I have, like, none of either, basically. So, oh, wow.
Well, I'm glad I'm not alone.
No, you're not alone at all. I think even Batman can probably agree as well a little bit. Neither of us get enough sleep, and yeah, we're always doing something. So that's funny. So I was going to ask if you find it hard to juggle a job and Web3 stuff, but no, it sounds like you don't. You got it figured out how to just have a crazy schedule all day. Am I correct in thinking that?
Well, I don't think it's ever easy, right? Especially when you have so many moving parts. But me and the team have managed to make it work. So far anyways, with personal lives, because we all have those, with personal lives and working on this product and working on this team. I'm sure some of the team down below can kind of attest to that.
Right. We somehow figure out how to sneak personal lives into there too. So also a little bit more about you. How exactly did you get into crypto? Like, what is your history with crypto, Devour?
Yeah, I've been in crypto for a little over 2.5 years now. I got introduced by my friend. I think that's kind of the most common aspect, is getting introduced, like word of mouth. Well, at least I think around that time anyways. So I got introduced by my friend, and I hopped into NFTs, I would say a year and a half ago, probably. About a year and a half ago is when I got into NFTs. And I started off on Ethereum, and I tried to buy an NFT, and I noticed that to buy one, it cost me $200 in gas, and I immediately stopped doing that. And I transferred over to Solana.
Cool. And now you mentioned that you are a part-time blockchain investigator. That's how you what you called it, right? So I'm curious, is this something that people hire you to do? And also, you and Slorg, the owner of Soul Slugs, who's also behind Soul Incinerator, you guys kind of like started doing this together, right? So how did you get into doing that?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. So there's a bunch of us that looked into it, and someone down in the audience, Magic Degen, I call her MK. She's looked into a few of them as well with us. But I'd say the team is comprised of myself, Fast, Slorg, Mint, and Board King also helps us look into them every now and then. And the way it came about, the way this team was kind of formed, was from Mutated Monkes, that rug. So Professor Mint, when Mutated Monkes rugged, he hit me up in the DMs and he was like, "Hey, I think this is rugged," and he sent me all of this info. I was like, holy shit, this is a lot of info. Okay, let me look into this. So I dug into it, and so we kind of started to look into this together. And then after about a couple hours of being on the phone, he found out who it was, and we then hit up Magic Eden, because this guy was a founder of another project, and they put us in contact with the co-founder, who happened to be Fast. And so it was actually this man that went by the name of GFAX, and he was the co-founder of Soulbots with Fast as the other co-founder. And so we told Fast about it, and so that's how we kind of got into contact with Fast and how I've been such good friends with Fast. And then another one is there wasn't really any materials on how to derug, but there were materials on how to look into investigations, blockchain investigations, and where to go. And that was supplied by Slorg. At the time, he had a group called the Rug Scene Investigators, RSI. And so we went to his Discord, and I provided all this info to him, and he hopped over to ours and kind of helped us derug and became actually a pretty integral member of the community. And he then, since he likes looking into rugs, he wanted to look at our rug channel and all the info that we had. And then it just kind of divulged from there, and we all started looking at rugs together. And then Board King came along one day because he was working on a project that rugged, and he saw what we were doing, and he wanted to help out. So it all was kind of organic and natural. And now we kind of have this. We don't do it much anymore because we've been focusing on phase protocol so that we don't have to do it. But we all did look into rugs, I'd say, for the past 6 months.
Hi, Berty. I wanted to introduce you since you came up here as well.
How's it going, guys? I legit dropped my phone and the mic turned on. My bad.
Nice.
Yeah, Berty's just the best community manager that's out there. I swear.
He is a very good community manager. I agree. Cool. Well, the whole story behind the Ded Monkes derugging is really cool. Did you guys all kind of meet each other through that? It sounds like this is kind of what, or did you know anyone before you decided to derug?
Yeah, no, I was pretty new to the Solana ecosystem at the time, so I didn't know. I mean, I knew some people, but I probably started my Twitter a month before that. I think at the time it's Discord and Twitter that are the main avenues of networking, and I hadn't really met anyone before that. And yeah, so kind of volunteering to derug Ded Monkes and start this venture with them was kind of how I made most of my connections.
Nice. So could you go into the process of like what you guys had to undertake in order to actually derug this project?
Yeah, so the first thing is creating a new Discord and getting members over there in a meaningful way. Because if you have, and first off, it was deciding if it's even worth it, getting community sentiment, because it does not only take a lot of time, but it also does cost money. So the first process was figuring out, okay, is this worth it? So we had to make a new Discord and get people over there. Luckily, I was a mod in Mutated Monkes, so I was able to make an announcement saying, everyone, get over here. So we made a new Discord. And then the second aspect was seeing how many people join, which would kind of show whether or not they wanted to. And we got a reasonable turnout. So we decided to go along with it. Next part is coming up with the team. Luckily, our community was awesome, as I was stating. So we had about a 5-man team at the time. And then after that, it is figuring out what you want to do with the art. Unfortunately, we did not have an artist that came out of the community, so we had to make do. Some of our team just hopped into Photoshop, made some new backgrounds. We can't make whole new monkeys. So we had to just hop into Photoshop and change it up a bit, just so you could differentiate between the old collection and the new collection. So we differentiated it a bit. Then there's a lot of votes that have to go on, new name. Do we want to do this for the art? Do we want to do this for the art? So there's a lot of voting that takes place because it does have to be a community-driven thing. And the last part is figuring out how you want to derug it. So in some situations, you have the keys to the NFTs back. So if you manage to get in contact with the person who rugged, they'll hand you over the update auth and you can take control of it that way. But the way we did it is we had to pay to basically airdrop all holders a new NFT. So that's what we did. We had to pay. It cost us probably at the time when Sol was, I think, $250, cost us about 15 Sol to airdrop all of these holders new NFTs. So that's what we did. We created the new NFTs. We layered the art ourselves, and then took a snapshot of all the wallets and airdropped them all out. And the ones that were listed on Magic Eden, what we could have done is kept those for ourselves, but we actually manually sent those back. So that took a bit of wallet tracking too, to see who was the person that listed it, aka who was the holder before it entered Magic Eden's escrow, and then sent them a monkey as well. So it was a lot of manual process, and then at that time, it's quote unquote officially derugged. But then you have to figure out what do you want to do from there, right? Just making a new collection. What is that really good for? You have to come up with future plans. What does this NFT mean? What is its end goal? And so then it's a lot of brainstorming from there. So the technical aspect of derugging is done after you airdrop, but it actually, the project's just starting.
Gotcha. And now, did you, when you were doing all of this, like when you decided you wanted to undertake this, did you think that the community would grow into what it is today? Did you think like Ded Monkes would be what it is today? Or what was your original like vision for it, I guess?
I kind of thought so. I thought the community would be awesome because that's the main reason why I derugged it. Is because the people in there were such good people. And honest people that would hold others accountable. And I think that that's really key, something that we are. And I think what it's kind of turned into is some people's like safe space. Because I know we derugged this. It's not like we're just going to disappear and rug again. That would be rather unfortunate. So I think it's become a safe space where people are free to speak their minds and free to be themselves, which is exactly what I wanted it to be. And it's, in my opinion, what it's turned out to be.
I think you're right. Like I immediately, even being very brand new to the community, assumed that I could trust you guys. Like you weren't gonna abandon a project that you put work into to derug. So that makes total sense. So in the past, there was an idea to build out a mutant token. Are you still thinking about having some type of utility token for Ded Monkes? Do you see a need for something like that?
So I think tokens are rather complicated. And I think they're a process that need, just like most business decisions, which don't get me started on NFT projects not being businesses and when I think they should think about them as businesses. But I think creating a token is a rather complex business decision that needs to be well thought out, and you need to have a concrete reason why to do so. Because if you just come out with a token to come out with a token, lots of times your NFTs get tied to that token price. And if you don't have sustainable ways of maintaining that token price, your NFTs will tank. So the original concept was to make the mutated token so that it could be input into the Ohm fork and kind of earned over time, because Ohm forks usually have like crazy APYs of like 30,000%. So that was the original goal, but as you can kind of tell in the past, Ohm forks haven't turned out to be anything of substance. They ended up being that one dream that was too good to be true. So yeah, they didn't turn out to be anything. So not going to do that unless it makes sense. And so yeah, not going to make a mutated token. If I did make a token, it would be called probably something like Ded. So yeah, we're not going to do that until it makes sense from both a business side and the user side.
Well, I have to say that I do like the name Ded better for a token, but what an intelligent answer. Like, and you made me think about all these projects, like all these NFTs that launch immediately, they immediately do staking like the day later, and they have their token and you stake it and you do raffles and you do raffles. I don't know what the hell else you're supposed to do with the token. And then you just watch the floor price just bleed out until it's like 0.01 SOL. And then you're like, oh, fuck. So yeah, I commend you. For thinking a little bit more about whether you should have a token or not, or whether it makes sense instead of just doing it just to do it. So you are in the process of a rebrand. I saw either yesterday or today, Ded Monkes tweeted out that there was a rebrand going on. So what is in store for that rebrand? Is it all just graphics, or what do you got going on there?
Yeah, so we hired the new artist. He's not like on our team, but he is a hired out artist, outsourced via Opportunity. Shout out them, really awesome people over there. Also in charge of the Pesky Penguins art upgrade and some others. But so yeah, the new art that you see in my profile picture was done by them, and yeah, we also hired them to do some new logos and new banners, some other graphics as well. just because I think it was time to, be ourselves. We didn't really have any proper branding materials or a branding kit, so I think that's important.
Oh yeah, I agree with you 100%. And who did you say the artist was? I think you said, but I missed it.
So his name is actually Illustranata, but he's comes from the project Opportunities. And Opportunities, they have an NFT collection, and they're a bunch of things, but the thing that they're most known for is doing art rebrands. They have a team of like 8 to 10 artists, and they all have different styles, and you go to them when you want art done by one of their artists.
That's very cool. Yeah, definitely shout out to them. That is very interesting. Yeah, I do like the art upgrade, and that happened before before we knew what face protocol was. We just all had our slashes everywhere in our names and our pictures, and you can see we still have them. This is where the slash came from. I don't know if people are fully realizing this at this point, because it was just like a viral, mysterious thing that everyone wanted to get in on it, but they didn't know why they wanted to get in on it, which was pretty cool. So who actually came up with the idea for phase protocol to use the slash, since I've mentioned that? Whose idea was that?
So that one was, I'll give credit where credit's due. We ended up working with, his name's Kimo Sabe. He was one of the founders and directors of the Solana Sanctuary, which are also in charge of derugging a bunch of projects, including Soul Bears, and I'm not sure if you guys remember the Senchis. But yeah, he came up with the idea. When we made our logo, he helped kind of finalize that, and he thought, oh, this would be a really cool idea if we kind of put out some cryptic tweets and said basically what they were standing for, like basically fuck rugging, all of this stuff. Like we want to keep our liquidity, power to the investors, all of these like very high level like community sentimental ideas, and then tied that to the slash. So the slash kind of took off a lot quicker than we anticipated, but it became something that was pretty cool. And you, at one point, couldn't hop into a space without seeing probably half of the speaker panel have a slash and it being discussed on spaces. So it caught like wildfire, and it did spread a whole lot faster because usually when you have something like that, it's nice to catch that marketing at the top, like at the peak when everyone's talking about it and using it. And we just weren't ready. So we came out probably like a couple days later than initially hoped for, but it was still awesome. And then people were like, oh, this is what the slash is about. So it did still have that really big effect that we all wanted.
Yeah, I think it worked really, really well. It was a really good move that you guys made. Now, before we move on completely from Ded Monkes, you mentioned finding out who the founder was, the person who rugged Mutated Monkes, and that was Hed Monke, correct? Do you know what that guy is up to today, or did you keep tabs on him?
Yeah, I sent him a legal demand letter hoping to get the funds back. So gonna wait and hear from him then. Haven't gotten many updates. He wrote back a few times, and none of them was he ever denying any sort of guilt or saying, no, I didn't do it. But I'm just gonna wait and see. Hopefully I get those funds back so I can use it to build up more cool Ded Monkey shit.
Wow, that's amazing. That would be nice, wouldn't it? If the guy would cough it up, that would be really good.
Well, the funds are still untouched. Like they're in a wallet that hasn't been touched for like 6 months.
I see.
So it's like, okay, all you got to do is a single transfer over to me, and then it's like it never happened.
Right. It's not like it has to come out of his bank account or something now. That's weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask originally when you guys got the idea for phase protocol, but it sounds like it's just been a process throughout all of this. But do you feel like there was a specific point where you were like, this is what we should make, or this is what we need, where you decided, I guess, to really create phase protocol?
Yeah. So there was a specific moment, and I remember I was on a call with, shout out to my team. It was myself, Slorg, Professor Mint, and his name's Dan. He's a tokenomist. He's a tokenomist. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that word anymore. But he is that. But he's also one of our lead business strategists. So when we decided not to go with a token, he was also there on that call to help us decide what we were going to do in the future. And what we decided to do was build out that social platform. And when we were in talks about the social platform, one of the things we were discussing is user inertia. Like, there's a lot of inertia in the space. Once people get onto a platform, they don't generally like to change unless there's a huge draw for them to change, unless there's a huge draw for them to change up their behaviors. Because humans are creatures of routine. People go onto Twitter as it is and go onto Discord. What are we going to do to change that? And so we were talking about unique ideas of something that we could do. And one of them was phase, like implementing a product like this into the social platform. And so at the beginning, it started off as just a feature. And the more we built it out, the more we realized, okay, if we added this just a feature and bring it out with the rest of Ded Social, not only is it going to be like the phase protocol itself will be ready, but it'll come out like 4 months later because we'll have to build out the rest of the platform as well. So we decided to split them off into 2 products to hopefully save the ecosystem 4 months early and save people a lot of money. So that was the thought process there. And it came up, I'd say, 4 months ago, if I had to give a time estimate.
Cool. And just to kind of reiterate for anyone who's not familiar with Phase or who maybe joined a little later, so Phase is a protocol that you guys have built where projects, it's basically like an and please fill in anything that I'm missing or saying wrong. It's like an escrow, but it's an escrow where the funds get released based on meeting certain benchmarks that are promised within the project. Would you say that's correct? Berty, did I get it right? You're up here too.
Yeah, you pretty much got it right.
Okay, so that's Phase protocol. And what was I going to ask next? So that's okay. So everyone has to. Devour's a listener again. I'm going to invite him to co-host. So the way that the funds are released within this escrow when certain benchmarks are made is that the community votes on whether they met these phases or not. And it is a default yes. So you have to go in and say, no, they're not doing a good job in order to veto it, basically. Is that's it, right? I think I got it right.
Devour's got his mic off, so and looks like he's flash banging emojis.
Yeah, he's just laughing his ass off.
I'd say that's pretty much right. It's a little more complex than that, but yeah.
Cool.
I'd say so.
Well, that is Phase protocol, everyone. It's a default, yes. Okay, so what would you guys say, whoever's able to speak, which it looks like Devour just left. Okay, so I thought he was derugging, not like rugging all of us. I'm disappointed. Unfortunately, we didn't opt this Twitter space into Phase protocol beforehand, which was my mistake. I'm sorry. So we're all just completely rogue now. But so Berty, you're still here. What would you say the incentive is for projects to participate in Phase protocol? Because I think a lot of people would see it as like a restrictive thing. Like, okay, I'm going to go into this. These guys are going to hold my money for my project. I'm not going to get paid. But what do you feel would be the actual incentive for a project to participate?
I'd say probably the biggest thing is just gaining investor trust.
I would agree with you there. It looks like we have our man back, Devour. He's asking to co-host. I have invited him. Cool. Yeah, no, I agree. You gain investor trust. I think I had heard mentioned too, there's that tax deferral could be a benefit to the owners. And I'm sure you guys can elaborate on whether that would be correct or not. And also that it gives projects more of instead of everyone deeming you as a scammer and a rugger, if your project just fails, like if you just weren't able to deliver, you refund the community. Okay, he left again. Yeah, everyone gets their money back, and then everyone can be, happier than if a project just abandoned. So that's another incentive in my mind.
I'd also say maybe the quality of investor investing in your project. It'd probably be better knowing what's actually behind the scenes, being upfront with all the information and whatnot.
Am I here? Can you guys hear me?
You're back.
Oh, let's
You're
go.
live.
I'm alive.
You're live. I hear your sound and everything.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So when it comes from I guess I'll answer because I heard some of the questions. But yeah, I think Berty kind of hit the nail on the head there, right? Bringing in investor confidence. And I think that there's a huge thing that could do there. And one of them is greatly increase the chance of mint out. Generally, when let's just say that you're someone who's thinking of investing into a project. I don't want to use the word investing for legal reasons, but thinking of minting out a project, you're going to do so if you trust the team and you trust that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And I think this kind of builds that infra out and makes that possible. And I think another thing from a project side is you could theoretically charge a lot more for your mint because the prospective minters are either going to get a nice chunk of their money back or some of their money back, partial refunds, or they're going to get a team that executes on their promises. So I think people are going to be willing to put up more upfront if it's not a zero-sum game anymore. Because I think that's the issue right now. It is a zero-sum game. Teams get 100% of mint proceeds up front, and you just innately expect them to do what they say they're going to do, which I think is kind of a flawed system and ruins incentivization structures. So I think this kind of realigns all of that. And in other things, right? There is tax deferral benefits because you're not receiving all of those funds up front. And lastly is right now there's this bizarre lifelong social contract if you're a project owner that you're going to work on these things till the day you die. And if you ever take a month off or 2 months off, you're called a rugger and you're chased away from the space forever. But I think that what phase can allow people to do is take away some of that oxygen for FUD. As let's say you're a project owner, being FUD is never a great feeling. So take away that oxygen, and it gives you more oxygen to innovate. Because if you fail, at least your holders know that there is still that recourse for them. So you can shoot for the stars and fail gracefully, which I think is something that's never happened before in this space. And if you look at Web 2, I think it's 9 out of 10 projects, 9 out of 10 startups always fail. And they're never clowned for doing so. Generally, you invest into people that have failed because they've learned about stuff like that, right? They've learned about how to properly run businesses, how to properly do things from those failures. But now if you fail in Web3, you're chased away from here forever and you have to come back under another alias.
Yeah, that was a benefit that I saw as well for projects, is not being deemed a scammer forever just because as you say, your business fails, because lots of businesses fail and it doesn't always mean you're a scammer. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. So that's cool. So I wanted to talk a little.
Oh, I was going to go on one more thing, is that it flips things on its head, right? Hopefully people will be more willing to hold your project and engage in your project more. I think that if they have a little bit more power and more say in your project, you're going to get a more engaged community. And if they know that if you fail, they're going to get some of their money back, why would they sell it? It just makes sense to hold and engage in communities now. So you might get a even more active and diamond-handed community, which I think as a project owner is every project owner's dream.
Dude, you're totally right. And we did an AMA with Centuries recently, and that was one of the things kind of built into their project is they have all this money staked in the validator, right? And if for some reason, they run out of their funds and the project just can't go any further, they will be able to refund everyone at least some of their investment. So it lowers your risk greatly. So yeah, that's absolutely a reason to hold longer because it's less of a risk. Very cool. So, all right. So I wanted to move on. Unless you have anything else to add, I wanted to kind of dig into the logistics of how it works. So firstly, I was curious, from the project owner's side, how much of the money do you put into this? Do you decide ahead of time? Is it all the mint funds that are broken out into certain phases, or how does that work?
Yeah. So I think at the beginning, we'll probably have to handhold a little bit and help them build out their roadmap and build out their phases. And because basically what it is it's you take a roadmap and you break it down into smaller phases, right? And these phases will then be the precursors for how you get paid out. So you will say, here's my roadmap, and this is what I want to accomplish within each phase, and we can help you build that out. But the entire objective here is to be as objective as possible. So instead of saying something like, this site will be live, you'll say, this site will be live by this day with X functionalities. So the community can say, okay, that makes sense. It went live by this date, and it had this amount of stuff in it. Like, make it as objective as possible with very specific criteria. So the community has basically a yes or no vote, and there's not ambiguity. So that's the way it'll work. We'll handhold them for a bit of it, but especially at the beginning, building out that roadmap. But that's the aim of it.
Gotcha. And now obviously projects are going to need some capital in order to do certain things. And most of the time projects are raising that capital through their mint funds or what have you. I mean, I guess they'll be getting like royalties and stuff too. So I guess what I'm asking is, does all of their money have to go into this if they're doing phase protocol, or just some of it go in, if that makes sense?
I mean, you could do either or, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm about to uninstall Twitter.
I would be really frustrated if I were you right now, but do not worry.
So the way it'll work, we're still brainstorming this and still talking it out, but the way that we think it'll work is we'll have a cap of what you can take out initially, which we'll call a phase 0, because I think that launching a project, like marketing costs, those are always there. So getting reimbursed from that is nice, but you're also going to need funds to execute on your first phase. So there'll be, let's say a specific cap or a specific percentage that projects can pull out from the initial mint, but that'll be made apparent to minters. So let's say that they want to take out 10% of mint, then there will probably be like a graphic that says like minting this is inherent risk of 10%. So you're going to get back, in the event of a hard rug, you're going to get back 0.9 SOL per 1 SOL you put in. Something along those lines, just so everything is very transparent to the community.
Gotcha. Okay, that definitely answers that question. Thank you. Now, as far as the refunds, if a project does come to the point where they need to refund, how does that process work? I think I heard that the NFTs would be burned, like you would send them to a burn address or something. Is that how that would work?
Yeah, so the way it would work is it's like a claiming portal. You would hop onto the site and there will be notification. We're going to be partnering up with Notify to bring you notifications through the app, so you can get text messages, Telegram messages, or emails notifying you of what's happening. But yeah, that's how it'll work. Your NFT will be burnt and you'll get the refund amount.
Cool. I'm gonna have to hit you up about Notify, because that sounds interesting to me. I started using Sense on my server, but that only does Telegram notifications. But like texts and emails sounds even cooler. So I'm interested in that. Now, will there be any benefits to Ded Monkes holders in relation to phase protocol in the future?
There is a goal in mind that I'd like to have for the Ded Monkes, but for legal reasons, I can't guarantee it right now. But I think one of the biggest ones is us becoming a actually properly funded NFT project, so we can kind of expand our horizons from there and build out anything we want, which I think is important, right? Because I don't think you ever see many projects besides, there's only one project that I know of in existence that has built out any sort of utility with zero funding, and that is Soul Slugs, and they built out the Soul Incinerator. I haven't really seen anything else like it that has ever had no funding and built out something that's awesome. So in partnership with them, we built out Phase Protocol, and now that we'll actually be getting some funds, we can build out even more awesome stuff for the monkeys.
Cool. Well, that funding is kind of something else I wanted to ask you about. So have you considered, for either Ded Monkes or Phase, raising any type of venture capital?
Generally, for Phase, it becomes an option. But for Ded Monkes, no. I think Ded Monkes is better as an organic, grassroots community. I don't want to get VCs involved in that. So not at the moment. Phase protocol is an option, but I'd also like to keep that as community focused as possible.
Cool. Well, something that I thought of, or something that kind of came to mind when I was doing my research, is that Magic Eden likes to like borrow ideas, quote unquote, borrow ideas from the community, and just kind of implement whatever the fuck they can under their company. Sorry for the stutter there. So have you thought about this, like competitors just stealing your idea, or do you feel like you have a plan for that, or what are your thoughts on that possibility?
I think that this is something that is super, super complex and hard to build. It might sound simple in its concept, but there's a lot of complexities to it. And I do think a lot of, especially big companies, like if you were a Magic Eden, one of your attempts and one of the things you want to do is remove as many complexities as possible. And another thing that this kind of does, let's say that you are a launchpad, is remove liability so you can outsource that to someone else. So from another business perspective, it makes sense to outsource it. But yeah, there are other competitors, and I'm sure that there will be. But I also want there to be competitors. I want people to build things like this because I think that means that the ecosystem is moving in the right direction. So I'm never going to be upset by competitors of something like this. And but I'll always be confident that my team and the product we're building is better.
Well, mad respect for that answer, for sure. Are there any? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I do have to hop off here.
I'm so glad that, I mean, we covered a lot of ground here. I'm really glad that you were able to join us. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening.
I appreciate you for having me. Feel free to stick around and pick MK and Bertie's brains. They've spent a lot of time with me. So, but I am going to have to hop off. I appreciate you guys for having me, and we'll talk soon.
See ya. So the next thing I wanted to ask was if there were any projects lined up currently, if you guys have time, of course, if there were any projects lined up currently for Phase Protocol, or if like any official marketplaces or anything had spoken to Phase about implementing that protocol.
I'm not sure how much I could talk about this, but yes, there's definitely talks and there's things in the works. Let's put it that way.
Good to hear. Well, I'm not surprised there. All right, so we covered
when it comes to
go ahead.
We have been like notified in the Ded Monkes Discord that there is interest, that there's already been a lot of projects, like tens of projects, approach Phase Protocol to discuss the implementation. Whether or not like they'll go ahead with it, like from their decision-making perspective, and also like Ded Monkes and the other contributors perspective, is obviously something else. But there's been tens of projects interested so far.
I'd also like to add that at the end of the day, it comes down to us, spreading the word just to get it out there and, gauge that interest and see how much better we can be. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think this is the kind of thing that it really does come from the community members. Like, hey, have you guys considered doing Phase Protocol? It would make me feel more confident as an investor, or as a community member, and it could be this type of benefit to you. Like, if you as an NFT degen or what have you, if you think that Phase is a good idea, it is like, it's kind of on us to bring it to projects and let them know that we want it. Because it's the type of thing that could become like, it could become expected. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could become something that's expected of projects to do if a lot of people say that they want it. So I have a couple of questions that I know I've been wondering. It's definitely about Berty and Magic Degen. I would love to hear. What is you guys' preferred pizza topping?
I'm going to be hella controversial. I'm going to be super controversial here. I like pineapple on pizza. Shoot me. I like Hawaiian pizza, which is like ham and pineapple. But there's a lot of people that are like, why the hell are you putting fruit on pizza? Like, I'm pretty sure Italians would be offended. But I also used to live in South Korea, and in South Korea they put corn on pizza, which I'm sure Corn Kid would appreciate. But yeah, pineapple is good on pizza. Don't hurt me.
Bordy, spill the beans.
For me, right now, it goes through phases, but I'd say meat lovers right now. A little bit of everything. Great. Not a fan of pineapple on pizza.
Dude, I have to say, I don't eat meat anymore, but I would agree with both of those. I used to enjoy some Hawaiian pizza with some ham and pineapple on it. And I know for a fact that Batman likes pineapple on pizza. So, Bordy, you're outnumbered as far as pineapple on pizza here. Okay, well, all right. Another thing that I would really like to know from you guys is what would you ketchup or mustard? That's all I want to know. Ketchup or mustard?
Ketchup all day.
Good question. No, I like ketchup. But I think I like tomato sauce more because ketchup tends to have a higher sugar concentrate. And I'm going to pretend to be healthy, even though I love sugar. And as for mustard, I like honey mustard on chicken. So if mustard's involved, it's nice if it's honey mustard and it's on chicken.
I like it. So you have an argument for both. Honey mustard is good on chicken. I'm with you there. I used to really I miss meat. I really do miss meat. I used to like honey mustard on chicken nuggets and stuff. Well, thank you. I mean, I'm sure everyone was dying to know you guys' food preferences there. I guess at this point I would open it up to the audience, but we don't seem to have an audience anymore. But once again, I really appreciate you guys coming, and I do think that we covered a lot of ground on both Ded Monkes and Phase Protocol. So, but yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Batman, for joining me as always. And I love doing these AMAs. I hope that Devour thought it was amazing, because that's been our streak has been all the guests have really enjoyed our AMAs. So I hope we did them well. Bordy, did you enjoy it?
Oh, for sure. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem, man. Okay, well, we'll see you guys around. You enjoy the rest of your evenings.
You as well. Take it easy.
Thanks. Peace, everyone.
Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.